Irrelevant of the sort of automated advertising on YouTube, you've seen a lot more content creators actually promoting companies within the videos, so inline adverts.
Exactly.
So, as an example, you just promoted Sonia.
Right. And I put her commercials up in between the videos on a few of mine on the wonderful.
Yeah, I've noticed. Yeah.
So, and that's what I was telling Mr. Robot, because he wants to do a kind of shop set up to where he can do it for the doofs, because he's got a bunch of doofs. He's got a bunch of doofs over there in Australia that he wants to hook up on getting stuff sold. And I told him, I was like, you set that up and make a short clip where you advertise the products, and I'll put that stuff in the video for you, And,
yeah. As soon as I got some free time, I'll work on that.
Because you need to help the doofs, man.
Well, yeah, I'd like to run my own eventually,
Oh, you have your own what? Your own...
just like my own lifestyle festivals where we meet up, camp out for a month on a farm, plant some food, learn some skills, share skills, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, commune.
Well, it'd be nice if it turns into that. That's the long-term dream. But you got to get people interested in that kind of thing. And the way to do it is to have fun, have a dance, hang out, plant some food. That's what I want to do. Plant food.
Really plant food. I'm just going to sit there and eat freaking food all the time and grow it, man.
Well, I just think it's our food supply has been so toxic the last couple of generations. Someone's got to actually take action and start growing good, healthy, organic food. And
haven't you got local farm shops where you are? Can't you?
We do, but they don't necessarily have organic growing standards, and none of this stuff is really transparent. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. Yeah. And organic food, if you get like certified organic food, it's super expensive. Most people can't afford it. And the only way to like make it more affordable is to make it more available.
We bring back the old butchers, bakers, greengrocers, and candlestick maker shops.
No, I will let both of you know ahead of time next week when we do the politics part, because this is current events. But next week, I am going to be bringing that kind of stuff up when we start talking about these tariffs too, because that's one area where I think tariffs will actually start helping. You know what I mean? Because
I've made this argument. I've got a friend who sees the U.S. tariffs has been a danger to society and danger to everything, and I totally disagree with Ramon and talk about local companies' employment and
stuff of that nature.
Yeah.
It encourage them to start buying locally and give up on this nonsense of global trade. So, now, you guys want me to read the article for Mark Zuckerberg and his...
Yeah, go
on. I haven't actually looked at this one yet. Carry on.
His wretched behavior. Now, just before Mark Zuckerberg bought Instagram, he identified a now defunct social startup as Facebook's biggest threat. Now, as Facebook considered acquiring Instagram, Mark Zuckerberg also had his eyes on Path, a social media platform he saw as potentially disruptive to Facebook. Old emails revealed during Meta's landmark antitrust case have shed light on how Zuckerberg accessed Facebook's old rival. All right. Now, before Mark Zuckerberg acquired Instagram, he was also deeply worried about a now defunct social media platform, Path. Founded in 2010, Path was seen as a direct challenger to Facebook throughout its 8-year run. The platform, created by Dave Morin, a former product manager at Facebook, and Napster alumni Sean Fanning and Dustin Meru, aimed to create a more intimate alternative to Facebook. Unlike with its more established rival, Path users could only have 50 friends, and this cap was later raised to 150, then 500. At its peak, the app boasted around 50 million users and was valued at $500 million. Google also made a $100 million bid for the app when it was just months old. According to recent emails revealed in Meta's landmark antitrust case, Zuckerberg was preoccupied with both Path and Instagram before he acquired the image sharing platform in April 2012. In a February 2012 message, Zuckerberg wrote to Facebook's former chief financial officer that Instagram and Path already had created meaningful networks that could be very disruptive to us. I'm getting a bit worried about Path, Zuckerberg wrote at the time. Out of all the new social startups, they're the only ones that goes right to the core of what we're trying to do around identifying and friend sharing. Theoretically, we could survive Foursquare, Quora, Dropbox, Instagram, etc., growing quite a bit. But if Path grows and isn't deeply wired into Facebook, then that would be a big problem for us. He wrote, adding that Instagram was probably next on the list. Later that year, Facebook ultimately ended up acquiring Instagram for $1 billion. Representatives of Meta did not immediately respond to Fortune's request for comments, which was made outside normal working hours. Meta is facing a historic antitrust case. Zuckerberg has been trying to argue in court that Meta did not consider Instagram a rival, but rather more adjacent to what Facebook was already doing. He said on Wednesday that he viewed Path and Google Plus, another new defunct social network, as Facebook's direct competitors. However, the Federal Trade Commission is arguing that Zuckerberg acquired Instagram and later WhatsApp to squash competition and establish an illegal monopoly in the social market. The attorney leading the antitrust case from the FTC, Daniel Matheson, pointed out on Tuesday that Zuckerberg had referred to trying tried to naturalize a competitor by buying Instagram, which he also previously called a rapidly growing, threatening network. Other emails released as part of the trial revealed that the Meta CEO once considered separating Instagram from Facebook over concerns about antitrust litigations. So I'm going to end the reading there and let you guys talk, because I heard Mark making weird sounds in the back.
Maybe back then, the sort of lack of competition might be true, but within the last 15 years, we've seen a massive growth in social media platforms. Of the time. To argue that there is a monopoly as far as what is now Meta Platforms Inc. Is not a valid argument as far as I can see. It might have been true at the time. And funnily enough, you were talking about 2012 when they were getting Instagram. 2012 is when Minds became a live service, interestingly. It's also... I found it's also interesting that you talked about Dave Moran.
Yeah.
Moran. I almost called him Moran, but Dave Moran. He was a former product manager at Facebook. He had previous, actually, no, he didn't have previous influence in Napster. There was Shane and Dustin, the other two. But so I'm just wondering, was that path, which is a social media platform I've never heard of until now?
See, that's why you go to the website AOL.com. They got a lot of good information.
Sorry. I'm just finding it funny. We talking about social media platforms, and we actually get a source from AOL.
Well, I mean,
once upon a time, a big social media platform pre sort of Facebook.
AOL.com is really good. Like especially if you go into the finance areas and stuff like that, and the banking and everything.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to know how Mark Zuckerberg became the second richest person in the world just through social media. That makes no sense whatsoever.
On IPO. Over-inflating on IPO. When Facebook Inc. At the time became an IPO, and when it was floated on the stock market, it was argued at the time that the stock price was really overly inflated.
Mm-hmm.
But why would that be?
Well,
just market manipulation.
Now this is where
it doesn't really make sense, because think about Amazon, right? He's richer than Jeff Bezos, right? And Amazon owns basically the whole internet. It builds the infrastructure for the whole internet. So how is this guy who's made a freaking social media app become richer than the dude that basically runs the internet? And mind you, he runs the internet for the military as well. So the only thing that makes sense to me is if he is selling our information on the black market, to governments and so on.
What was Amazon's web service popularity back in 2010, 2012? Wasn't that big?
No, I mean, it wasn't that big.
Yeah, it was only within the last 15, 20 odd years, or 15 odd years, that AWS has become a major player in the hosting.
It got more popular about 10 years ago. I know that.
Yeah.
About 10.
Doesn't Amazon also own eBay?
Well, Amazon's a different story.
eBay.